To make our pastry cream, we need a few things. So you want a heavy bottom pot, a whisk. I also have an additional whisk so that I can whisk together my egg yolks. So you're going to need some egg yolks with my sugar. You need sugar. You also need cornstarch, whole milk, and butter. I'm also going to have a dish on standby so that once my pastry cream is done, I can transfer it. And you will want some plastic wrap once you transfer it to the final dish. You're going to want to put that plastic wrap down so that it doesn't create a skin. I also have a thermometer here. This is a laser thermometer. Initially, I like to see where I'm at temperature-wise so that I can temper my eggs. Usually I do that when my pastry cream has reached about 125 degrees. So this just helps me know where I'm at. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to add in my milk. And you definitely want to use whole milk for this recipe. And you can consult the class page for the exact measurements. And then I'm just going to put in half of my sugar. So roughly half of my sugar. And I'll go ahead and turn my burner on to medium heat. And I'm going to let that heat up. Like I said, I like to heat it up to about 125 degrees. That tends to be the perfect temperature for tempering my eggs. While we're waiting for this to heat up, I'm going to talk a little bit about our eggs. So I have egg yolks here, and I've divided them from my egg whites. And the leftover egg whites you could use to make Swiss cream buttercream, or you could use it to make French macarons. So I usually try to figure out like my desserts in terms of what do I do with the leftovers. So that's what I do. You can see in these egg yolks here, there's some little bits. Those are the pieces that kind of clung to the egg yolk. I'm going to keep this covered up so they don't dry out. I don't like those in my finished product, meaning my finished pastry cream. So I will usually take a mesh sieve. And once my pastry cream is all nice and cooked up, I will put it through a mesh sieve just to get any little lumps or any little bits that have creeped in or stuck. Okay, so I'm at 121. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to transfer my egg yolk here to this Pyrex container. I just find that it's a lot easier to pour into my pastry cream. I don't make such a big mess. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my egg yolks. I'm going to add in my sugar. And you want to whisk this right away so that you don't burn those egg yolks. If you burn them, they'll become very crumbly and gross, and it just doesn't work. I'm also going to add in my cornstarch, and I will get that cornstarch all over the place. I will go ahead and get that cornstarch all nice and incorporated. And if you're not making a mess, you're not having fun. Right, so we'll go ahead and clean some of that up. Get that nice and smooth. Let's see where we're at here. Yes, so I'm going to turn this down a little bit. And I'm going to take a little bit of this cream, milk, and sugar here. I'm going to take about a quarter of a cup. And I'm just going to use that to temper my eggs. So I'm just going to go really slow. And I'm going to temper those eggs. And that just helps when it's time to add this into our milk mixture to prevent them from turning into cooked eggs. So I'm going to do this with my dominant hand. I can do it a little bit quicker. All right. Sure, I got all that cornstarch off the sides, and this looks really good. So now I'm going to go ahead and add that to this milk here. And this will prevent us from having scrambled eggs. And then I'm just going to whisk this, and then I'll just keep stirring it until it gets nice and thick. I just want to make sure I've got all my ingredients in except for my butter. So I have turned this down a little bit. So this is more of a low medium heat. And I'm going to go ahead and just keep stirring this until it thickens. So it's going to take about 3 minutes or so to thicken, and then I'm going to want to take it another 2 minutes at least to get that cornstarch taste out. We want to kind of get that raw cornstarch taste to cook out. So I'll go ahead and set my timer for 3 minutes. So just stir this constantly. I'm at about 150 to 152 degrees. I'm going to keep a spoon on hand here so that I can see how it's coating. I can feel that it's getting really thick. So I'm going to switch over to my rubber spatula here because I can control this a little bit better. All right, I'm going to turn my heat off. This is nice and thick. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off the heat. And I'm going to actually push this through my sieve here, just to get any lumps out. So that is nice and thick. And I'm just gonna push this through any of those lumps out so I end up with a nice smooth pastry cream. And then once I do this, I will put some plastic wrap on it and let it cool down to room temperature. You could also add in a little bit of vanilla bean paste. And I'm just gonna smooth it out a little bit. And you can see it's a very thick custard. So I'm going to take some plastic wrap and I'm just going to push that down onto my pastry cream. And I'm just going to let this sit at room temperature because I want it to cool down to room temperature. And then the last step will be, once it's at room temperature, then I will add in my butter. It's been about an hour and I've let my pastry cream just hang out. I'm going to take its temperature here and see where we're at. It's at about 87 degrees. It's just warm. I'm going to go ahead and add my butter in, and my butter is at room temperature. And I'll just stir this to combine. You want to make sure you kind of flatten down that butter so that it smoothly incorporates. And then once you get your butter all incorporated, then you'll want to put the plastic wrap back on it, push it down onto it, and then just leave it in the refrigerator until you're ready to use it. At this point, you could also add in some vanilla bean paste or some extract, really any type of flavoring, but I'm going to leave this just plain. The key is that you don't want this to be so warm that the butter puddles into the pastry cream. You want it just to incorporate nicely. You don't want it to also be so cold that the butter doesn't incorporate. So you just got to find that delicate balance. Would say anywhere between 80 and 87 degrees is perfect. So just keep going through and kind of mash down that butter so it gets nice and incorporated. And then you're going to want to just put your plastic wrap back down onto it and push it down so that a skin doesn't form, and then into the refrigerator it goes.